Hey guys, welcome back to another True Crime Thursday. As you can see, I'm dressed up again. If you want to check that content out for Goretober, Instagram and TikTok link below. In today's case, I'm talking about the Hammersmith ghost case. This has been talked about by BuzzFeed Unsolved and a few others, but I thought I'd give my take on it, talk about it. It's a case where someone believed another person was a ghost and some things happened that probably shouldn't have. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy. The Hammersmith ghost had first been spotted in November of 1803. The specter wasn't content with merely just floating around and scaring people. It was also attacking people, with several claiming to have been physically grabbed in and around Hammersmith churchyard, where it got its name. Local people said the ghost was of a man who had committed suicide the year prior and had been buried in Hammersmith churchyard. The contemporary belief was that suicide victims should not be buried in a churchyard or consecrated ground, as it would not let their soul go to rest. That sucks for you, man. Descriptions of its appearance varied, but most stated that it was tall and wore white, but was also said to wear a calfskin garment with horns and large glass eyes at other times. Stories about the ghost soon began to circulate. 2 women, one elderly and the other pregnant, were reported to have been seized by the ghost on separate occasions while walking near the churchyard. They were apparently so frightened they both died of shock days later. A brewer's servant, Thomas Groom, later testified that while walking through the churchyard with a companion one night, close to 9 p.m., something rose from behind a tombstone and seized him by the throat. Hearing the scuffle, his companion turned around, at which the ghost gave me a twist around and I saw nothing. I gave a bit of a push out with my fist and felt something soft, like a great coat. On December 29th, William Girdler, a night watchman, saw the ghost while near Beaver Lane and gave it chase. The apparition threw off its shroud and managed to escape. Doesn't sound like a ghost to me. That sounds like a guy in a sheet. But to each their own. With London not having an organized police force at the time, which really you should do that, and as many people as were frightened, according to Girdler, several citizens formed armed patrols in hopes of apprehending the ghost. That's how scared they were. They were getting like little armies to try and find this ghost. Yeah, man. At the corner of Beaver Lane, while making his rounds at around 10:30 p.m. on January 3rd, 1804, Girdler met one of the armed citizens patrolling the area, 29-year-old excise officer Francis Smith. Armed with a shotgun, Smith told Girdler that he was going to look for the supposed ghost. Girdler agreed that he would join Smith after he had called the hour of 11 p.m., and that they would take the ghost if possible. Then they went their separate ways. Just after 11, Smith encountered Thomas Millwood, a bricklayer who was wearing the normal white clothing of his trade. Linen trousers, entirely white, washed very clean, a waistcoat of flannel, apparently new, very white, and an apron, which he wore around him, so, covered in white. This hadn't gone unnoticed. A few people had previously been startled by Thomas's clothing while he was walking around at night, or walking to and from places. His wife had even asked him to wear something different, as it might scare people unnecessarily, but Millwood insisted on wearing the same outfit. And he really should have listened to his wife. Thomas Millwood had been heading home from a visit to his parents and sister, who lived in Black Lion Lane, according to the bricklayer's sister. Immediately after she saw her brother off, she heard Smith challenge him, saying, "Damn you, who are you, and what are you? Damn you, I'll shoot you." After which Smith shot him in the left lower jaw and killed him. Rude. Maybe wait for a response. I don't know. Just a thought. After hearing the shot, Girdler and Smith's neighbor, one John Locke, together with George Stowe, met Smith, who appeared very much agitated upon seeing Millwood's body. The others advised Smith to return home. Meanwhile, a constable arrived at the scene and took Smith into custody. Millwood's corpse was carried to an inn where a surgeon, Mr. Flower, great name by the way, examined the body on January 6th and pronounced death to be the result of a gunshot wound on the left side of the lower jaw with small shot, about size number 4, one of which had penetrated the vertebrae of the neck and injured the spinal marrow. Good job on that one, man. Yeah, you really did good there. Smith was tried for willful murder. The deceased wife, Miss Fulbrook, stated that she had wanted him to cover his white clothing with a greatcoat, as he had already been mistaken for the ghosts on multiple occasions. On Saturday evening, he and I were home, for he lived with me. He said he had frightened 2 ladies and a gentleman who were coming along the terrace in a carriage, for the man said he dared to say their ghost the ghost, that he said that he was no more a ghost than he was, and asked him, using a bad word, did he want a punch of the head. I begged of him to change his dress. Thomas, says I, as there is a piece of work about the ghost, and your clothes look white, pray do put on your greatcoat, that you may not run any danger. Well, he didn't listen to that, did he? No, he didn't. Millwood's sister testified that although Smith had called on her brother to stop, or he would be shot, Smith did not give him time to actually respond. He basically said it and then shot him. Like, didn't wait to see if it would talk, didn't wait for him to do anything. He basically said it and went pow pow. Despite a number of declarations of Smith's good character, the Chief Judge, Lord Chief Baron Sir Archibald MacDonald, advised the jury that malice was not required of murder, merely an intent to kill. I should betray my duty and inquire the public security if did not persist in asserting that this is a clear case of murder if the facts be proved to your satisfaction. All killing, whatever amounts to murder, unless justified by the law, or in self-defense, in cases of some involuntary acts, or some sufficiently violent provocation, it becomes manslaughter. Not one of these circumstances occurs here. The Lord Chief Baron observed that Smith had neither acted in self-defense, nor shot Millwood by accident. He had not been provoked by the supposed apparition, nor had he attempted to apprehend it. Millwood had not committed any offense to justify being shot, and even the supposed ghost had been shot, it would have been unacceptable, as frightening people while pretending to be a ghost was not a serious felony, but a far less misdemeanor, getting only a small fine. So even if, he was dressing up as the ghost and scaring people, doesn't give Smith the right to shoot him. The judge closed his remarks by reminding the jury that the previous good character of the accused meant nothing in this case. MacDonald directed the jury to find the accused guilty of murder if they believed the facts presented by the witnesses. After considering for an hour, the jury returned a verdict of manslaughter. MacDonald informed the jury that the court could not receive such a verdict, and that they would either have to find him guilty of murder or acquit him. The jury then returned with a verdict of guilty. After passing the customary sentence of death, MacDonald said that he intended to report the case to the king, who had the power to commute the sentence. The initial sentence of hanging and dissection was commuted to a year's hard labor. He killed somebody in cold blood. Well, he believed it was a ghost, but come on. And he got a year hard labor. What the actual fuck is up? The huge publicity given to the case persuaded the true culprit to come forward. He was John Graham, an elderly shoemaker. He had been pretending to be the ghost by using a white sheet to frighten his apprentice, who had been scaring Graham's children with ghost stories. There is no record of Graham ever being punished. Even if he was, it would have been a small fine, because he didn't actually, he didn't do anything, super wrong, I guess. Just being a nuisance. The question whether acting on a mistaken belief was a sufficient defense to a criminal charge was debated for more than a century until it was clarified at the Court of Appeal in the case of R. versus Williams in 1984, concerning an appeal heard in November of 1983. The appellant, Gladstone Williams, had seen a man dragging a younger man violently across the street while the latter shouted for help. Mistakenly believing that an assault was taking place, Williams intervened and injured the apparent assailant, who was actually attempting to apprehend a thief. Williams was subsequently convicted of assault occasioning actual bodily harm. At the appeal, Lord Chief Justice Lane referred to the historical debate. The case raised issues of law which have been the subject of debate for more years than one likes to think about, and the subject of more learned academic articles than one would care to read in an evening. Lane went on to clarify. In a case of self-defense, where self-defense or the prevention of crime is concerned, if the jury came to the conclusion that the defendant believed or may have believed that he was being attacked or that a crime was being committed, and that force was necessary to protect himself or to prevent the crime, then the prosecution have not proved their case. If, however, the defendant's alleged belief was mistaken, and if the mistake was an unreasonable one, that may be a peaceful reason for coming to the conclusion that the belief was not honestly held and should be rejected. Even if the jury comes to the conclusion that the mistake was an unreasonable one, if the defendant may genuinely have been laboring under it, he is entitled to rely upon it. The appeal was allowed, and the conviction squashed. The decision was approved by the Privy Council in Beckford versus the Queen in 1988. And was later written into law in the Criminal Justice and Immigration Act of 2008. To conclude, this story is just, it's one of those superstition type things where someone sees something and they instantly believe it's a ghost. Like nowadays, if this happened, everyone would be like, that's a guy in a sheet, which it was, a guy in a sheet. But back then, like, you see any little thing, you're like, it's a monster, it's a werewolf, it's a ghost, it's a vampire. But, I mean, in some cases, like, personally, I do believe ghosts are real. I believe in ghosts. But this situation is clearly, obviously not a ghost. Like, some cases, you're like, could be a ghost. This, like, literally, there was a story where someone was chasing the ghost, and he threw off the sheet. That's the most... Really? You still believe that was a ghost after that? After the thing threw the sheet on the ground and was running like a person? So, like, that guy had no right to shoot the other man. Like, he's like, stop, I'll shoot you. And didn't give the guy enough time to respond or turn around or give defense or say anything. Just shot him. And he wasn't even wearing, like, a sheet over his entire body. He was just wearing white clothes. Which I guess back then, white is ghosts. But yeah, gave him no right to kill that guy. Didn't give him time to respond or anything. Just shot him. Very rude. Just saying. At least it helped with UK law. Now they have stricter laws on that sort of thing. Even if he believed it was a ghost, why do you think a shotgun would do anything? It's a ghost. If it was an actual ghost, that would do jack squat. It would go right through him. So, whatever. But yeah. Killed an innocent man. He should have listened to his wife and not worn the white clothes. I mean, come on. But there were so many things that shouldn't have happened. Like, if that guy hadn't worn white clothes at night, then he wouldn't have gotten shot. If that other guy had actually given Thomas time to speak, then he wouldn't have gotten shot. You know, both of them made mistakes that night. A lot of people made mistakes. The guy who was, you know, actually dressing up as a ghost really shouldn't have done that, because back then, everyone believed in everything. So you dress up as a ghost, and suddenly there's a ghost in town. And sometimes, because of, like, certain ghost sightings, there becomes the, panic? Was it, like, I don't know. It's a thing where groups begin to, like, hallucinate or imagine things together. They get so, like, scared and stressed and stuff that it actually happens, like the dancing plague. Stuff like that happens. So if you start thinking there's ghosts, you might start seeing things. You might feel like someone grabs you, but no one's actually there. And other things. And this guy, Graham, was not helping the situation by dressing up all the time. So, you know, that's cool. Thanks, man. Really made my day. So, I hope you enjoyed. I'll be back again on Thursday with another True Crime Thursday, and Monday with whatever I decide to post. Alright, I'll see you later.